I'll tell you straight. Nothing prepares you for the day you realize peace and quiet can vanish in the time it takes a set of tires to crunch over your driveway. I wasn't expecting a war, not up here. I thought I'd earned my peace, settled it with sweat and a wad of cash on the barrelhead. But the truth, sometimes trouble finds you even if you're living off a road the mapmakers barely bothered with. That morning it wasn't the pines hissing or the deer moving through the brush that tipped me off. It was the low, deliberate grind of rubber on gravel rolling up my access road like it owned the place. I set my mug down on the porch railing and out of pure habit reached for the old binoculars hanging by the door. That's when I saw it. 3 white SUVs in a row, all sporting shiny decals, Elk Valley HOA enforcement. HOA. Out here felt like a bad joke. I made my way down the steps, keeping my pace easy, even as something tight and coiled settled in my gut. Years in the field don't leave you. They just quiet down until you need them. The first SUV stopped. Doors swung open, and out came a clipboard, a badge on a lanyard, and a young guy with the look of an intern who'd get lost fetching coffee. All of them in matching Navy jackets, HOA enforcement officers stitched like some small-town sheriff's wannabe. "Mr. Barlow, clipboard man?" asked, voice clipped in plastic. "That's me," I answered, folding my arms across my chest. "You call this a neighborhood visit. We're here on behalf of Elk Valley Homeowners Association. Your property is in violation, and you fall under HOA jurisdiction." He blinked like he'd rehearsed it. I just stared back. That's gonna be a problem. Badge lady stepped up with a laminated packet jabbed at a highlighted map. "According to this, your land falls within the extended jurisdictional boundaries adopted in 2019. I cut her off. "This land bought it straight from Gunnison County 2021 government auction cash up front. Never belonged to any HOA development." Clipboard man cleared his throat. "Well, the previous owner failed to notify the board. Technically, your cabin is within the HOA overlay. You were never approved as a member. You failed to file for occupancy. You've made unapproved modifications. Your off-grid setup violates aesthetic codes." I couldn't help it. I laughed. Aesthetic codes? The closest neighborhood is 6 miles down a fire trail, and your overlay isn't even legal. There's no HOA here. Just me, 200 yards of trees, and a shed full of solar batteries. No one smiled. "You have until the end of the week to vacate," badge lady said. "After that, we'll pursue corrective action, including reassignment of the structure. Any questions can be directed to our legal counsel." I took the packet, flipped through it, then tucked it under my arm. "You finished?" Clipboard man adjusted his sunglasses. "I'd advise you not to escalate. We're just the messengers." "So am I," I said deadpan. They lingered a second, waiting for me to yell or threaten, but I didn't budge. Eventually they left. Soon as their taillights vanished, I went inside, laid their packet on the table, and opened my file drawer. Original deed, parcel registration, certified county map. Snapped photos of the lot. Pulled video footage from my security system, faces, plates, the whole show. By sundown, I'd emailed everything to the county assessor and my land use lawyer. Old habits. When you've spent years teaching folks how to survive in hostile terrain, you don't wait for the wolves to circle. You document, you prepare, you sharpen your axe. Didn't take long for the next move. 2 mornings later, my motion sensors went off at 5 a.m. Instead of coyotes, I caught 4 men in orange vests and white helmets walking my tree line with survey poles and a blinking crate labeled Temporary Security HQ Elk Valley HOA. A 5th guy in a windbreaker stood with a laptop. I slipped on my GoPro chest cam, headed out. They were planting marker stakes, acting like they were running a city zoning meeting. "We're just continuing parcel demarcation, HOA section 14C. Windbreaker said, looking me over. "This is private land. You're trespassing. Elk Valley, jurisdictional overlay. Environmental oversight. Compliance inspection," he rattled. "Station's temporary. That crate says Security HQ, not Survey Station. It functions as both. You got a warrant." He blinked. "Authority under HOA code?" I cut him off. "Don't care what you dreamed up in your cul-de-sac. This land's county registered, bought clean, not under any HOA. You're building structures on land you don't own." One survey guy jabbed his stake deeper, muttering about his schedule. "That's 5 feet inside my line," I said, pointing. "I've got GIS overlay to prove it." "You don't want to be holding that when the sheriff shows up." That made him pause. "We're not trying to escalate," Windbreaker muttered, but I'd had enough. I called Sheriff Willoughby. He showed up tired as ever, talked to the HOA crew, then ambled over to me. "They've got paperwork," he said, rubbing his neck. "Citing a 2019 annexation. Looks murky. But unless you get a court order, my hands are tied. Civil matter. So if I put up a fence and they cut through it, then what? Then I'll have something actionable. Until then, get a lawyer." As he left, I filmed every inch of their operation. That night, the security crate's little antenna and motion sensor lit up every time a raccoon or deer wandered past. It was a reminder they were still here, still pushing. Next day, I staked new signs: private property, no trespassing, castle doctrine enforced. In Colorado, that's not just talk. Folks around here respect lines. I met my lawyer, Gene Collins, in town. Ex-JAG still carried a .38 in her purse, paralegal on a CB radio. She went through the HOA packets, scoffed at the annexation. "You ever file this kind of expansion, you need land board approval, county signatures, owner notification. You get any certified mail?" "Nothing," I said. "Bought from county clean." She nodded. "I'll pull the GIS plats. If their overlay's not on file, they've got nothing. And if that signature's forged, we're talking felony." That got me thinking. I mentioned the name on the HOA map. Gerald Moore supposedly signed it in 2019. He retired in 2018, I said. Gene grinned. "Then we've got them by the throat." That night, a drone buzzed over my cabin. I killed the lights, tracked its green LED, watched it dip over my roof. I stepped out, slingshot in hand, and knocked it clean out of the air. Inside, I pulled the SD card footage of my solar array rain tank security cameras, not surveillance recon. Gene didn't mince words. "You're being prepped for seizure. The crate, the drone, the markers, they're fabricating a record of non-compliance. Then they'll claim you're illegally on HOA land. Forced reclamation. All smoke. Then let's give them something real to choke on," I said. We filed for all county records of HOA expansions, installed more cameras, and sure enough, another inspector arrived at dusk. He tried the same script. Compliance inspection. I can enter adjacent grounds. "Not without a court order, you can't," I told him, recording everything. 10 seconds to leave or the sheriff gets the tape. He left in a hurry. Didn't take long for the next escalation. Next morning, the HOA returned 6 of them. Camera rig bolt cutters, drone case military raw. "Mr. Barlow, we're here to remove unauthorized construction per HOA ordinance." The drone guy was already setting up. Another started measuring my well housing. I walked inside, suited up in my plate carrier, took down the Mossberg, stepped out. "Calm, steady," I said. "Unless you have a court order, you've got 30 seconds to leave. You're trespassing on private land, castle doctrine enforced, and you're being recorded." They hesitated. The drone lifted off. I aimed, fired a single birdshot into the sky. The drone spiraled into the trees. That was it, panic. Papers dropped, cameras left in the dirt. Someone tripped and face-planted. In less than a minute, they'd piled into their trucks and roared off, gravel spraying. I picked up the dropped folder photos, checklists labeled Phase 2 Deconstruction Transfer, brought everything to Jean. She watched the footage, whistled. That's restraint. In some states, they'd press charges. Here, it's textbook stand your ground. I was interested in winning, not politics. We built the case, every sign, every video, every trespass recorded. 5 days of quiet, then a certified letter from Elk Valley HOA lawsuit filed demanding immediate vacating, back dues, oversight, transfer, emergency injunction. I took it straight to Jean. She moved fast motion to dismiss for fraud, countersuit for land seizure, forgery, harassment. We compared the HOA map to the county's. One was a joke, the other official. The signature, Gerald Moore in the flesh, sitting across from us, scowling. "Ain't mine," he said. 32 years of maps, he knew his own hand. The hearing came quick. The HOA rolled in with their legal cavalry president, Karen Doyle, looking down her nose at the whole room. Judge McIntyre listened to their lawyer's spiel, watched their glossy map. Then Jean handed over our exhibits: county map, purchase deed, denial letter, Moore's affidavit. More stood called the signature a forgery. Never signed off. Not official. Fabricated. Karen Doyle's face went pale. Jean requested a subpoena for internal HOA emails. Judge granted it and Karen lost it, objected, raged. But the judge shut her down cold. Outside, Jean grinned. We cracked it wide open. A few days later, the subpoenas hit pay dirt emails from Karen. Instructions to forge maps. Hide the county's rejection letter, dismiss me as that ex-military freak. 50 pages of attachments draft maps with used Gerald's old signature. Jean handed it to the DA. By week's end, arrest warrants were out, Karen and 2 board members cuffed in front of the HOA office. The video hit social media. Board members resigned, county oversight took over, and Elk Valley HOA was suspended. At the emergency meeting, folks asked me to speak. I told them the truth. This wasn't about HOA versus anti-HOA. It was about honesty law and not letting anyone steal your land with a piece of fake paper. By the following day, the HOA was dissolved. Territory reverted to the county. A barbecue broke out, first time in years folks could breathe. Karen's mugshot made the news, her trial loomed, and the county sent me a formal letter apology, affirmation of ownership, a compensation offer for the ordeal. Didn't care about the cash. I cared that my peace was back, that the mountain was mine, and everyone knew what happened the last time someone tried to take what wasn't theirs. Morning fog, the whisper of wind through the pines, and a new sign on my trail. Private cabin. No HOA. No Karen. Trespassers will be recorded, reported, and ridiculed. Humor keeps you sane. Sheila the investigator dropped by with my certified ownership. Karen pled guilty. No deal, full confession. Looking at 10 to 15. Justice. She named names. More investigations coming. She sipped coffee, just a neighbor now. That evening, I sat on the porch reading messages from strangers, veterans, survivalists, reporters, even a state senator. I didn't answer. I just started typing what to do when the HOA comes for your land, a veteran's guide. Might as well turn war into a manual. A couple weeks later, I filmed a short video, me, my porch, the sign. How'd I handle the HOA? Didn't blink, got a good lawyer, documented everything, never left my land. That's what it means to own something. You stand even if you're standing alone. It went viral. Turns out Karen Doyle wasn't the only one with a power complex. I didn't want to be a symbol, I just wanted peace. But sometimes the fight finds you. When it does, you plant your boots, chamber the truth, and aim for the lies. So now I've got my cabin, my quiet, and one hell of a story. But let me ask, where do you draw the line between protecting your rights and taking things too far? When is standing your ground justice, and when does it tip into revenge? Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about it. And if you've got your own HOA saga or a brush with injustice, I want to hear it. That's how we keep each other sharp and keep the next Karen honest.